Hello and welcome to Cut It with a Hammer. In today's episode, I'm going to give you the first half of a project I've been working on. It's a small table 3x3 made out of walnut and maple. And in part two, I will show you the Kumiko designs I'm going to put in the aprons. This project was started before I started the YouTube channel, so not everything is going to be documented in the video. I did have a final assembly video, but somehow that got deleted somewhere. So let's get started. I had 4 maple legs left over from this small desk project, and I filled in the slot for structural reasons and then cut the dovetails to fit. Here are the apron pieces, and here they are all together. And here's the dry fit. One of the corners is a little bit loose. I had the first cut I made on the router table and it was a little bit loose. Here are the pieces as they came out of the planer. And here is the final glue up of those pieces. And here is the tabletop after it came out of the clamps. And here we go with sanding. Started off with 120 grit and then did a 150 grit, 180 grit, and a 220 grit. Here I'm taking alcohol to wipe down the area where there was glue squeeze out to find where any glue I might have missed in the sanding. It also shows you what it would kind of roughly look like when there's a finish applied to the walnut. And back to sanding. More checking for glue squeeze out and more sanding. You use your non-dominant hand to check for smoothness because that hand is typically more sensitive than your dominant hand. So checking all the glue lines, make sure everything feels smooth. I didn't miss any rough spots. And it's all good. So let's flip it over. I had this non-stick pad I decided to use since the table was pretty big and I didn't want to clamp it down, and I'd never used it before. After I sanded the bottom, I flipped it back over and I found it left oiling marks on my tabletop, and they're rather hard to get out with the sander, so I probably have to wash it to get some oils off of it. And back to sanding. Aren't you guys glad I sped this up for you? A lot of people don't like sanding. I don't particularly mind. And here I am cutting the table to length. This was obviously before I had my new saw. This would not have fit on a traditional table saw very well, at least not the setup I have. So outside with the circular saw. Which is fine as long as the weather's nice. And after cutting, I did find that there was a very fine scratch that the circular saw left, so I had to fix that. Here I'm planing a 45-degree chamfer in the bottom of the top, and it's approximately half the width of the table. The tabletop is 3/4 of an inch thick. Start off with, I used the Japanese hand plane. I really enjoy using them there because I find them more enjoyable to use, but I wasn't getting a very smooth or flat finish, so I went and used a number 7 double angle jack plane to work it on. I wish I could say I finished it all that way, but I ended up getting a router and a 45-degree chamfer bit to finish it off. Here I have the bottoms of the apron being glued up, all 4 pieces. And then here I'm gluing a little strip along the top of the apron so the Kumiko will fit in between these two pieces. I have these spacer blocks to measure the distance between everything, and I use it for just about anything that had to do with the Kumiko area. I use these spacer blocks. And you'll see more of those in the second video. And this is roughly what it will look like when I've got started. The two end pieces I'm going to do something different with. And here we're putting on a finish that I picked up from a shop in Portland, Oregon called The Joinery. They have some very beautiful wood in there, and they have some interesting finish, so I thought I would give it a try. So this is the first time I've used this type of finish. Matter of fact, this whole table has a lot of firsts in it. It's pretty much an experiment, since I figured I was going to keep it. So walnut is the first time I've used walnut in a serious way. First time I've done this oil finish. First time I've done the dovetails for the legs and the aprons. First time I've done Kumiko. So here we are putting oil on the bottom. So this way I tried putting the oil on the rag and then wiping the rag on the bottom, and here is the finished look after doing a second coat. I did find I had some bleed through on the top, and that's because the ends weren't sealed properly or sanded properly. And then for the top I tried the pour the oil on method and then spread it out. I think it was faster, but I did notice, and we'll see a little bit later in the sunshine, where it just seems to be a little thin. But I love walnut. Most woodworkers do. And here's the top after 2 coats of that finish. So here I am getting ready to do the same finish on the legs, and I've taped off the dovetail areas where I'm going to be doing some gluing, because you don't want oil interfering with your joint. Glue typically doesn't stick very well to finish. So, and then each of these got 2 coats. I'm not showing you the second coat of everything. And here's the table out in the sunshine. You can see the finish is a little thin on this edge. And you can still see where that bleed through is on the top of the upper right hand corner there. And this is the table after I got done assembling it. The little pieces in the Kumiko area were just temporary, and I will be taking those out. And that's the end of part 1. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.